Page 3. Relationship of the Buddha. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one long beyond the final story, completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sogata and Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to attain, teacher of gods and humanities, to you, complete and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, subduer from the Shakti clan, I prostrate my offerings and worship. To the founder, the last sin destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, completed, perfected, fully awakened one, perfect knowledge and good conduct, Scourger and Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you to complete and fully awakened one, endowed the destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the jagged clan, I prostrate my offerings and go for it. The founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sogata and Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the shattered planet. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When I was supreme amongst humans who were born in this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. You I was then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, forms of only pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain. Magna blazes in the 3 worlds. When of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spotless moon. Colour like gold, to you I prostrate. Dazzling like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably lies one, to you I prostrate. Have great compassion, the founder having knowledge dissenting. The field endowed with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to darkness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms. The one path to divine reality, the dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever divine homage. What with every respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. To do your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a little liberation, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. The conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seen, subdue the faults and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15 for the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple. Thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling on that sculptured mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Uttara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, and beheld those 5 attributes also as empty in their nature. Then through the path of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Uttara. How can it instead the lineage train which is to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Uttara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, to look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 attributes also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shall return likewise all phenomena and emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not efficient, not fulfilled. Shall return therefore in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. No visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on, up to and including no and no ignorance of no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no self-good wisdom, no attainment, and also no human attainment. Sharaputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell on the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken, unpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, and reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, so it's not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Gadi Gadi Paragati Parasangati Bodhisattva. Sharaputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from their concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arita of Peshawara, saying, well said, well done. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Peshawara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, who are overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25, 14 and dollar. Sashi Bhokin Shutter Dogam, Ravin Shinning and Padi, Sunday Shingu Mate Oagi, Dogan Bashing Lacho Pashu, Jetson Law Damba Jinam Japu Kama Jinse Changing, Jeda Sampe Doshe Sinhala. Sake Chake Chabhava Tuzo Ira Pratna Mandala Kamrayataya Lonje Jalan Sajeta Jango Vivani Kamsuchi Ari Chini Gipai Sonamki Jala Vinche Sanye Goha Show Dange Charan Soke Charan Janjo Vivani Kamsuchi Ari Chini Gipai Sonamki Jala Vinche Sanye Goha Show Dange Charan Soke Charan Janjo Vivani Kamsuchi Ari Chini Gipai Sonamki Jala Vinche Sanye Goha Show Donge de Dene da Lunje Bunche, the mission in there, one lunch at it. The Yen Jes and the Japan, the Government Channel, the data. Over the Virgin Window show, but the machine that you open. Got in Jamaican age on the goes on to Jim to so. I had down the Gurong from Shigara and that Sunday you could. Te watching chu nyamni yuruma shigiyore jilayada unondi chanjusin unondi simbaji yana ani chudi te watching chu yunashi nganazo khantuya de ya te watching chu transugo rest in the tijin chu stola unondi chanjusin girwa simbaji go nyamni zi simbaji jila shimben yula simbaji go re Shembelo said Teani, Girani Chibude and Dramamba. Lambadinchi city, Pomanis, Simjin, Pamba Bashi, doing some. The Asian and Chu Nimba, the son of Bombachins and the woman. No, I would say that she was wrong.
First, to cultivate the correct intention or motivation. One is listening to these teachings on the Great Vehicle. So in that sense, the motivation should be bodhicitta. Then it becomes Great Vehicle practice by way of listening to that teaching on the Great Vehicle. Whether or if something is in Mahayana, the Great Vehicle or not, depends upon whether the mind is conjoined with the bodhicitta, the awakening thought, which is the beneficial intention. The beneficial intention is that one is listening not just for one's own purpose, but for the purpose of solely benefiting the sentient beings who have been kind to one, like the parents of this life. So with that in mind, one will here reflect and meditate on the teaching.
아니야, 다 가만 봐. 이런데 내 처지 되게 중요한데 그거 기억상 뭐 이인체지면 가본 그랬어.
Joyce, that we have the good opportunity to hear such holy Dharma. Rejoice in that.
아야, 다 단단한 거다 산재 있고 구신남샤가 구시 산재 있고 산재 있고 되라 하는 오니고 세대 거기에 미네베냥데 로라 단연 녀몽을 시제 되어 탐제 방배 방과 산재 있고 내내라야 아니 오니고 쓰고요 레스라.
We've been looking at the qualities of Buddha's body, first of which is the nature body, Mohniku, in the true cessation in the continuum of Anharya Buddha, the complete abandonment of obstructions to omniscience, and also the adventitious defilements.
내니어디 시주를 내다 산재주기 시바티에 남겐스 산재주 시바 탐제 아니 시주세요 레스라.
Secondly, the wisdom, truth, body, Yeshichuku, is the omniscient mind, omniscient wisdom mind of the Buddha, consciousness.
다 롱구스야데 녜방아 렌게 수구타도 수구르와 수구타도 녜방아 네게와 오미를 슈버와
No.
군예와 쳔베세조지마 니코네와 찬세파와차다 추응예와 대과심을 추어버지성과 뒤응예와 고와시즈 마돈바디쇼 tumbazenyegeene indege ni chejungadingi sugujila ya lungusu reswa
Then, thirdly, the complete enjoyment body or utility body, complete with these 5 attributes of abode, definite body, pure land, retinue, doctrine, the abode being Umen or Akanishta, and that the body is exemplified by these major and minor marks and then the retinues, and then that the doctrine will be taught until cyclic existence is emptied.
지자 lungu 친이들라 ngewangadingi sugutadukusla goyorte ngewangadandimbe sugutaduk sugurwa
No.
ne sugukusla yunyu tandangando sanjeji kula nishyunju chugusuguswa kuniche kushiche kushiyonde cheyunju sugudilada lungudan chugus yoni chengurwa 지자 ngewangadingi sugutadukusla wayde imzente togula resra.
So the definition then of that complete enjoyment body is a resultant form body in possession of these 5 attributes. We know that if we're dividing Buddha's body into 4, then the form body, the Rupakaya, can be further divided into the Tuku. First, we've just highlighted the Longku, the enjoyment body, not the emanation one.
다 시버 주부들라 네왕마다 메덴베 수타도스와 네왕마다 메덴바 나 오늘 누굴 네왕마 샤즈와 예다 메덴이 네왕마데 마잉기 수부지가 주부스라고 했어.
Now, emanation body or Tuku, its definition is a resultant body or a maturational body, not form body, excuse me, not possessing the 5 attributes.
제가 다디 베나나도 주부라니라 초주부와 디생한도 초주셔대와 주부들라 예나니 초주부 소주부 겨주부 사드리케와 주부들라 예와 숨체와
So now there are these 3 types of body. You have supreme Nirmanakaya body, or supreme emanation body, artisan emanation body, and birth emanation body.
제가 이 초주부단 주부라 수수 겨우비 제토고요 방송을 수수 겨우 제토고 요인자 루디 파워 chan지 파워 이제 미제도는 봐 이게 겨와도 조성하다 봐.
In terms of these 2 types of emanations, then the supreme emanation body and the emanation body, these can be perceived by ordinary beings, but the utility body, enjoyment body, can only be perceived by bodhisattva superiors. This distinction we made last time.
근데다 초주부 델레베션은 마다 미나바딘 기롱 남바딘 거인자 수수 겨우 제도 천상 베제 요마라 기롱 남바딘 봐.
And you know that supreme emanation body could be, for example, in the form of a bhikshu, not possessing these major and minor marks.
아니 최최니 특징 팀면 최 탐지 최 다소 다저도 마셔야 되는 게최 년도에 되는 다 정상마송도 와 내가 농구디나 특징 최미시 송문도 와로.
Right, so Shakyamuni Buddha, of course, in terms of teaching the doctrine, can teach the Mahayana vehicle, the Rudhyana vehicle of hearers and so forth. But to those bodhisattva superiors, only the great vehicle in the means of the utility body.
아니 다 뒤제 투모용을 공간형의 대외 수대회에서 코치지 모든 바도 쇼토만 봐.
And at the time of Buddha's passing into Parinirvana, he was not requested to remain until cyclic existence was emptied.
지난 내일라연디 다자도 마셔지 당도 친시대로 왔다. 초도 친시대. 다자도 마셔지 더지. 제와 중이다. 제바 중이 덤베 제바 중이 되는데 여기 덤베는 수구들라 되니게 다니 제바 중이 되니게 다니 수구들라 다 초고 두고세 거든로 되는데는 이거를 와
No. So we could give, as example of the supreme emanation body Shakyamuni Buddha, and we can come to know what qualifies that supreme emanation body by these 12 deeds.
그다음에 다자도 마셔지 들어오디 간디네 제바 중이 나가 간디네 포와스로
No.
아니 제가 간디네 포와스는데 그 태권 준비에다 저기 녀네 바샤는 다자도 마셔지도 어디 아무네 산제 심벌에가 산제 심제네 점블링들이야다 두자 다자도 마셔지도 와다 레긴데 왜니 뭐지 요거 요인자도서 네 최 된제다 타워도 담지진배 공부하는 거야 그 뒤질래 되어 있는자 근데 다자도 마셔지도 간디가 주제네 마 점블링들라 포와 간디네네 포와서야 돼 그래서 이제 두고 인바 다에 두고 넘버 된지 흉대요 제단디 마 하이 탐바 토가와스 뒤에 다자도 메시지들 챙어요 하이 탐바 토가와스 버려봐
Lay,
하이 탐바 토가와 인데 다른 유전 들어가 가신디라
lay, toko.
덤베 민스체 뭐전에 되게 민
Tinder,
근데 그런 민레미
lay,
그런 메들란데 다로
lay, toko. So this first deed then of descent from the Pure Land of Tushita or Ganden, from the perspective of the great vehicle, Shakyamuni Buddha was already fully awakened, and in this world, the students who had karmic connection with him were ready to be matured in terms of liberation and enlightenment. That time had come. So he came down from Tushita, Pure Land, so that very deed is like the tuku showing aspect.
다들 제자 제와 티네 간디네 폰 윤기룽 쇼바스와 이와 아니 로비첼 꾸담베 제와 소이네라 네 케베 제와 아니 주무르 제이 제와 와 아니 총지 고신 랍주메 제와 스타디제데 랍주메 제와 디간디제데 침베 제와와 두두 제와다 침베 제와로 차고 간데네 위윤기룽 쇼야 로네 꾸담베 제와 주누르 제와 주무코드르 와도 사마 베제와시 다네 랍드 주메 제와 스네 마르와 랍드 총기네 지메 랍드 총 아니 로두 카와 제와다 아니 찬주신루데 노모도 산예와스 두dom베 두좀베 제와다 도 사마 랍드 주메 제와르와
Now we can classify these deeds into sections. From 2 to 5, we would call these the deeds of, the householder's way, entry into the mother's womb, birth in Lumbini garden. Number 4, becoming skilled in the arts and playing the sports of youth. The 5th deed, taking charge of the kingdom and keeping a harem. And then those deeds that exemplify going forth upon going to the 4 gates of the city, becoming discouraged with cyclic existence, and due to that attitude leaving the householder's life. 6, 7, practicing austerities for 6 years at Naranjana River. 8, going to the Bodhi tree and sitting in meditation under it and 9, vanquishing or overcoming the hosts of demons. These are the deeds, showing the deeds of going forth.
다들 다 두두대 전화서 로션을 거로 다 계지제도 주고 그랬대요. 사바다에 저와 정말나 뭐서 산게로 한다시베 표제 원치는 사바다에 때 로드 제단데 테스트 다드 제단 테스트 되면 와 팀이다 되게로 그래서 다워징을 해야 지도도 어디에 간 표제 네
팔리나?
발레도 다워징을 내기도
음.
표제인데 누구는 로드 제단데 테스트 근데 주에 채워 찍네 채워 주중에 로지고라 이제 누구들 반대 주에 봐 먼저 단다 루나 칼렌더가 반대 주에 채워 주중에 로지고라 봐 투세인데는 야 텐도 왔다다 야 텐. 다 주제들에 투된져서 시다들이 오늘시는다 직규를 주네 오다라 너무 정말 직규를 주는데야 다들 제단 제단에 대해서 menda시요 나당아서니 사바데베 체종아 다 사바데베 체종아가 산지와디 정말 괜히 치고요 아 사바데베 체종아 제단지요와 디데즈 야마투로 오다 그래서 다 되나 사바데베 체종아는 산게 아니 되네지 니 마시비시부 추마 송바지 쇼데로 다 주스 투바치시스는 근데 투베치와시 라니 유언스라 총고고 제제라 다딜 디스트리션 디스트리션 조디 당고 총고고 제가 지린 주지 나는 되베 제가 상황을 지린 제가 김내 김여랍 총화도 저다 뭐 랍전에 여러 가지 de 연계 네 디지털 메모데 라다비오 같은 덤베 제남 내리라이나 뭐 랍전에 뭐 요레스라
So, although there is advice to be taken from the deeds of the household, or showing those deeds of going from afflicted states to bliss, as it were, really the important ones for us are the deeds in terms of turning the wheel of Dharma. So, in terms of the deed of going to the Bodhi tree and sitting in meditation under it, or becoming fully enlightened on the 15th day of the 4th month, there are different kind of dates set forth according to the great vehicle and the Rukmana vehicle, or perhaps the Pali traditions and the Sanskrit ones. So this one is really this 10, becoming fully enlightened on the 15th day of the 4th month, is more in line with the common Pali traditional Rukmana one. The great vehicle calculation differs somewhat. We talk about the 10th Tibetan month from the 1st to the 16th, showing various signs and so forth. It would be good if these were in accord, but what is agreed is that in Sakadawa, on the 3rd watch of the night, Buddhahood was attained, and for a certain number of days, 7 weeks, yeah, 49 days Buddha did not teach. Yeah. But then turning the wheel of the doctrine on the 4th day of the 6th month in Varanasi.
제자다 대인들 나도 다 중국어에 배워야 되라 유르와 중국어에 유니 요하나시 제와 아니 투디 그것이 제와 아니 송세 간사디 코로나데 상고 제와 아니 간송야게 최디 아니 템바시 중국어스 나 숨바보데 다저도 메시지 도와스다 고조사데 남베 추게 고치 조사데 데네 고조는 거다.
So if we look at the inception or the source of Buddha Dharma, where it began, we can look at this turning the wheel of the doctrine on the 4th day of the 6th month in terms of the place, Varanasi, the time that was just stated, the retinue who was present, the 5 close disciples, what was taught, what Dharma was taught, the Four Noble Truths, and then who taught them Shakyamuni Buddha. So this is where the Buddha Dharma began.
다초 숭단에 가려라 되라 배웠습니다. 남자 중이고네. 중대를 뭐 숨송을 제가 당고디 아니 딘싱고라 되어 봤어요. 되는 동네 법에 대해 봐고 되는 군주 법에 대해 봐고 되는 보호법에 대해 대람법에 대해 봐고 당고 뭐도 마 숨시하고 당고 숨 지글라로
So now if we look at these Four Noble Truths, there are these like the 12 aspects and 3 by 4. So each of the 4 truths has like these 3 aspects to them, making 12 attributes of the Four Noble Truths. The first one is that of entity. No, 3 4 to 12.
But there's 4 attributes to each of the truths.
No, not in this. We're not talking about this. It's completely different for the part.
남자 중이래.
Yeah, there are 12, not 16. So the first one is entity. And that entity is the entity of the truth of origins, entity of the true sufferings, entity of true sensations, entity of true paths. First attribute.
그래서 다 뭐를 마시에 가득되라. 아니 네 단다 코로나데 상관하니 고시교진에서 고시가스라는 코디오도한테 고시가라야 되라. 아니 통남토선 담보하는 봐. 다들 강만에 더버지 봐. 근데 통남문에 남들도 네 계산하면 좋았어 봐. 아래. 네 문에 배 남들도 계제 배지 남나 신참들도 제가 진짜 다자도 마셔게 근데 고시가라야 니 다자도 마셔게 되게 개개인도 아무마 당고 다자도 마셔게 더 천주가라. 다 얘기를 합니다. 낭주스 그도 낭주스게 말고나 힌두게 잠세시에 대해가 고시가서 근데 그러나 다자도 마셔게도 와다 다워 tum부치에 빼대 무인의 주디 다제 진지래도 배 미슈지게 리지기 숑지 군조스레 이지 시와게 다 로요를 했어야 돼. 될 이지시라면도 아니 제가 좀 마셔게도 왜 되나시로 다 직소요를 해야 돼. 인사 말해서 됐어. 지금 내가 지난주에 되네. 대도 연구에서 해야 돼. 다워 tum부치. 개개인 나네 로다 이슈도 차려 봐. 그런데 당연히 다시 좀 마셔게도 와 돼. 춘주가나 고시가 써야 돼. 개개인체. 근데 다시 좀 마셔게도 와다. 일로라네 가서 오래. 다 치료에 장성을 하주에서 이제요. 장성을 하주에서 대인적으로 와디 된다는데 대가서 진가는 있나래야. 인조시 지도 와디 네 총도 역시 잡도 와디. 장성을 하주래 힌두게 배다 배제 코나 타바톱 되고 잡시고 힌두게 타바톱 가지고 질문을 내치고 배대 나서 단다 수미 제미 뭐시도 수 상마터 나가대 나지대 지엠의 것이 들릴 때겠지. 그런 게 제와도 첩섭 인조쇼다. 기록 뭐는 해야 돼. 띵인지 인간에 냠샤 인간에 미시 동통는 뭐는 지금에도 봐. 그래서 띵인지 토보이나 냠샤 인간에 근데 그런 그 기록을 해체 냠샤 인간에 최 성공하시. 네 파즈 나는 깨지세네. 최시에면도 냠샤 인간에 파즈 최시에 지기도 왔다. 근데 제메도 알레데 띵인지 토차대라. 아니 어딘데 세임베가라 네티드 장소를 하죠게 기루라 고시가라데 기루레 다자도 메시지도 왜 기루레 네 그니 기루지고 차다 쇼도 아 뭐게게 다 쇼도 차 다자도 메시지도 와데 이거는 또 어디서 제미 또 어디 고시가데 레기면도 와데라 네제데 말레 그러나게 다 그랑게 gen시로시 또 뭐진데 되게 말하는 이 쇼도시기스 근데 힌두게 타바토거든요. 제메의 잡라 단도데 단지다 단지 대샤스로 뉴모게 자와 대샤스 근데 이게 단도 타바토면도스 아니 대샤니 로드가와제다 아니 신두다 뉴모의 시제도연 산지지 고마토연데 아니 다자도 메시지 들어가 산제브레스 라드엔 코마데 삼바츠르레제 디시숨베 탄고데라네 그우시갈라야다 또바지고야데 하나 탐직 장마실제 요르와 또마나 탐직 장마요 뭐네라 나 제미 또바제사다 제산다 데인디 상무단의 증인지단 남사 통난 토부고였다 니중 제사다 니중 제사 니중 제네 본사마베디 제대로 그서를 니중 제제 신나질러다 타원양의 제도대로 제산데 니 로주데 단에 도와로 비세다 하나 망만에 도와야 돼. 그 통남 톱도 걸 컨데스토이 있으리와. 제산데 로주도 마다연데 네 되어시도 당만에 할때 시르베게 타워 톱스마 제미 무시 톱스마 된데레 되샤스. 디자네 초지 덴바 동에 덴바레 이군준 덴바레 고바호에 덴바레 라운디네. 그러나 도와지 감사 도와지 추스 근데 배들 다 가서 그래. 민시죠. 또 민시죠. 그래서 매도 이제 취득시간 매도 시에셔서 차대서라. 어디 닝조 이런 남자들 따위 있느라.
So with regards these 12 attributes of the Four Noble Truths divided into three, the first of which is entity, we can look at it from the perspective of the five close disciples, one who was called Koshika, who, upon hearing Lord Buddha first turn the wheel of the Four Noble Truths, attained to the path of seeing. I had doubts when I first came across this as to how this could be, but then latterly I read a historical account of it, and it's quite beautiful. Previously, before Buddha showed the deed of attaining enlightenment, Kushika was his teacher. And of course, at that time, we wouldn't coin this term Buddhist because they were like Brahmins in the Hindu tradition, or sages, we would say. But Shakyamuni Buddha and Kushika were very close in view, very kind of close in their views about what is reality. They were thinking, is there production from God, or were beings like emanated from Shiva? They didn't believe that. They were more like people had their individual cause in it, like not made by God. So there was this notion of causality. But then there was another sage at the time, and Shakyamuni Buddha particularly followed this sage, and so did Kushika. He was a Hindu called Lachu. And this particular sage, they were all contemporaries, like Dharma friends on the path. This particular sage had thought he had gotten the Hindu equivalent of liberation, which is like the peak of cyclic existence when you go through those last absorptions. What is it? How does it get space? Is it space first?
Space matter. Not Jamie. Nothing.
Nothingness, space, consciousness. What's the last one? Supreme. Supreme thing, yeah. So he'd gone through those. But the thing about that was when they taught, they didn't, having gone through those dhyanas, absorptions, they didn't teach by talking. They just taught by like absorption, as it were, like observing each other in meditation. There was no like sitting and teaching. So this sage who had got to this stage thought that they had attained liberation proper. But Shakyamuni Buddha was not so convinced. And Shakyamuni Buddha asked Kushika, his friend, could you teach me what that sage realized in terms of the Hindu liberation? And Koshika declined to teach Buddha, saying, I can't really do that because we are Dharma friends. And so in other words, Koshika declined teaching Buddha these kind of states of absorption or this level of liberation. But, it was understood by Buddha that what this sage had realized, this peak that they thought was liberation, they still hadn't vanquished the self-grasping, the root of self-grasping, under which Lord Buddha went to the banks of the river and for 6 years went into austerity, as it is known. After which the deed of awakening, the 5 disciples came to Varanasi at that time, one of which was this one we mentioned, who was really close to Buddha, Koshika. And he was close to Buddha because his samaya was really good. And his samaya was really good. So he actually attained the path of seeing really quickly on hearing the teaching of Buddha. Of course, he'd already generated renunciation, but it was like, because previously with Buddha, they had doubted that things came from God or were emanated by Shiva. They had like this doubt tending toward the fact. So when Buddha taught, it's a bit like when you just nudge a flower with water. It's like that, you just get that insight. So then that's how Koshika attained that initial path of seeing in a historical sense. And that's why If truths are divided into these 3 sets. The first of which is entity, where it says that this is the noble truth of suffering. This is the noble truth of origins. This is the noble truth of sensation. This is the noble truth of the path. Yes.
그래서 내내 뭐지? 내내 저어체연들. 아니 동네시에 차서와 군중 방화차. 고공원의 시에 랑공바 차세. 동원대장가라. 이 토랑터미디 원랑터. 가시에 토랑터. 가시에 조랑터. 뭐. 토시디 통고들라 토랑차라. 가시에 토랑터. 가시에 조랑터. 토랑터미디 원랑터. 조랑터미디 아니 토랑터미디 조랑터서 그래서
So then the second of those 3 cycles related to the Four Truths is that of action. So it is said, know true sufferings, abandon true origins, actualize true cessations by cultivating true paths. So in that sense, then, as Lord Buddha turned the respective wheels, then those that were on the path of seeing transferred or transverse to the path of meditation, and then those on the accumulation to the path of joining, those at the path of joining to the path of seeing, and then from the path of seeing to meditation, and so forth.
나한테 저와대우 나한테 종이 개차서 개차서 다 숨숨 그 신이 개차서 다양한 저와대우도 제 대바실을 소용인데 아니 동해 방와차면서 동해 방야다 방스도 상라신이 도요 말레스 대바토요 말레스 다도요 말레스 거라 다디 갑딜라 다도요 말레스 아우라다 팀이 또버디 셰 동동이 셰요 말레스 다도요 말레스 와 동해 방와차면 군조 방와차면 고공원도 정원도 난 공부죠 공부 저와대우도 제 왔다 저와대우도 제 와라 셰요인데 아니 통랑통이 고랑통이 다좀부터라 통랑통이 고랑처 조랑통이 통랑통 아니 제산다 뭐데 맞아 배웠습니다 남자 중이 이거네 아니 파괴 덴발고 파괴 덴발고 고단이다 이제 배제는 디지추고게 아니 중고 숨게는 발라 두저 코마디 삼보데 파괴 덴발고 그래서 다 파괴 덴발고 간데스 고여는데 또 고단이 받으려다 No.
So the third in our 3 cycles is the result. So, abandon true suffering, so there's nothing left to abandon. Kind of remove true origins, so no more afflictions are to be removed. Cultivate the true cessations until there's nothing more to cultivate, and actualize true paths until there's nothing more to actualize. So when we talk about this first one, we're understanding that there's no more sufferings to vanquish, because they lack any type of inherence, or they lack true existence. Although initially the final mode of the lack intrinsic nature or emptiness was not taught, it was with regards to a self. However, what we see is this: the reason they're called four truths for Aryas is because the mode of turning the wheel in these sequences gets the result, as was mentioned, in sequential stages, going from the perspective paths and going up one as you turn. So accumulation, joining, path of seeing, number learning, and so forth.
정말로 돈을 꾸어야 된다.
Yeah, so in short,
돈은 예제를 터서
in short, all of them in the end of the turning of the Four Noble Truths attain the path of seeing, which was the least, isn't it? To get that our heart, the truth on our heart.
I think we can repeat all that. It's a little bit fast and muddled.
That's it.
Ask, can we repeat, please?
Repeat.
Repeat. We
Okay,
want
so the last,
result, no, we want to start right from the start of the result.
뭘 대화 시체로.
And the first result was abandon true suffering.
우리
until
보게
nothing is
되면 우리 보게
abandoned.
되면
yeah,
Second
Krishna,
result
Kundalini,
was-
and get checked up the test jobs.
네.
Pena, cosa,
뭘 대화.
yeah, no, but that trouble,
저와 드거드 제와. 왜?
yeah, the and get,
아무도 소래.
yeah, Tom,
그래서 저와 드거드 제와 슬라비.
and the duk
왜 빵와 차르서와. 빵와 차르면서. 동네 반전에 여러 가지나. 다들 저게 반전에 말이야. 두스코네요. 다들.
yeah, so abandon suffering, so there is no more suffering to abandon. This means that it doesn't mean that there's nothing to abandon, but there's no inherent suffering to abandon.
어디라고다? 동네를 치면은 이제 군중 빵와제 빵자여 말이다데. 다들 왜 군중 빵자지가 말해서.
Yeah, and abandon true origins until there are no origins more to stop. So this means that there are nominally afflictions and karma to be abandoned, but not in an inherent sense, not truly existent.
오늘 고방원도 잘못도 잘면서. 뭔데 잘면서 저는 다들 왜 고방원 차지 요 말했다. 되어 말았다.
And then actualize true cessation until there's no more true cessation to actualize. You actualize it, but you understand that when you've actualized it, it doesn't exist intrinsically.
근데 람 공부 잘면서 람 공야디 네 다들 왜 람 공야지 요 말했어.
And cultivate true path until there's no more true path to be cultivated. The understanding here is that the cultivation of the true path is not truly existent.
어디다 가만들아 저와 되거든요. 또 마세대로.
Yeah, so these are the final four of the three, which is the resultant.
지선들 대화 숨라데 뭘 대화가 저와 대화 저와 되거든요. 대화. 숨대 숨숨가.
Yeah, so those three aspects again are entity, action, and result.
다들 대화 실을 수자는데 시중 중이라.
Yeah, so if you apply that to the Four Noble Truths, then you get these 12 aspects of the four entities,
근데
attributes of the Four Noble Truths.
하나도 배제팅나는 내용을 배웠습니다. 남자 중이고네 이 중과 송을 해서 저는 배웠습니다. 그래.
Just on your the Pejati environment.
퇴퇴.
Geshe gave that teaching, didn't he, on one weekend course on these
뭐죠?
the 12 aspects of the Four Noble Truths. He already gave a course on that.
So there was a question from online. What is teaching from absorption? because you mentioned before.
Oh, okay. This the
Teaching by absorption. so-
상이 좀 전에 얘기한 봐.
음,
the nyama the 정성
하고.
그런서 캐시시에요 말이 남쪽
냠샤, 그래.
어야 남쪽 디캄디지
그리고 다 냠샤지 나나 아니 시고사드네 용거 냠샤지 나네 냠샤지 나네 당소 베나 데 딘데 용거도 왔다데 저랑서 디나라 빼려 같은 거 동네나 데라 냠샤지 용네 두여던데 용거요 다곰그 곰자로 와 셈디 다 동번이는 냠바샤나 도사요 말와 안도 심가라 냠바샤요레 네 간다디 수보드 도스테 아니 심디게 베다 돈에와 아니 심가 봐도 계시셔야 소시와 냠샤지 안에 사야돼 어딘데지로 고요래 저다 빼나단다 디나라 장송라주게 네 그런 기루도서 네 냠샤지 안에 해말레 리가 두고도 해말레 리가도 안 데라게 겐투 안게 데라 최셰 그런 게 어딘데스지 냠샤 도단디 나도이나다 딜레바 냠샤만에 다시면 돼요 근데 아니 냠샤지만에 지진 좀 제야라 소과 근데 단 지진 잠에 제야라 소과 근데 이거요 남배슈네 셰잖아 냠샤지만에 근데 왜 이거요 봐
이네 정성 거랑이 개초플라 남샤낭데
쳐세모래 냠샤지만에 그동안에 지고를 메시지게 동단동동이 그동안에 지고요 말 그런 그 뭐는지 하고 accept 제저와 예 냠샤지 안에 냠샤지 안에 그게 통일되게 기둥냐고 냠샤지 안에 그게 통문은 기둥냐고요 말 그런 다들 합주했으니까 고소 그거는 덤샤
그럼 정봉남 냠샤르 쭉
그런 냠샤대야 그런 데 계셔 미좀 두대는 수도 대대로
그래요
냠샤 안에 해말라야 러시아고 심 또 아니 기둥도 대용 데를 추신 데는 뭐는 제 두스테 워
so
so-
the teacher would go
Can you
into
repeat the question?
you just did
I did, but they wouldn't maybe.
Oh, they couldn't hear you on the.
Just if people make.
okay so what does it mean to teach from within equipoise so therefore this sage would go into equipoise and then could, for example, go to the Himalayas from within that equipoise and teach disciples. Much like if we're not talking about equipoise and emptiness, much like we could go into equipoise and go to a Pure Land or Sitara.
One disabled in 1959 on Hamdagamze on Gishi and he thought he got come biting and he little bit doubt he had doubt and he went to 13 Dalai Lama teacher Yunzen Puja Chambajasa and he asked him and I got some this experience I don't know which is this come biting rare or no and then Yunzen Puja Chambajasa told him you can do tomorrow sunset coming and what do you do usually meditation for Kamabadi? You can do this. And he went to his house and then he did morning meditation his house. And then afternoon he went to Yunzin Puja Chambajasa. And he asked, I did this morning. And Yunzin Puja Chambajasa said, yes. Your meditation is real combining. And he told her, how can he know, you know? I'm there doing meditation in my house. He's there, his house. And he coming out and he asked that he attended. And what did he did and the sunset coming. And that time and he was meditated. He was meditating. And then that time Chodin told this is in Yamsha, Egobos Ra.
Yeah, this is the equipoise.
The Chandram Yamsha and see what the rest is.
Yeah, that is from within equipoise that is coming seen.
그래서 냠샤 원에서 그 강한 재면 좀 나가고 공부비 나오는 거에 여러
Yeah, so from one with an equipoise, it's not like you're not recalling nothing. You can go from within relative truths or teach relative truths.
어디 덤베 남다디 배 인조도다 데와.
Yeah, the story of Buddha's history with his teachers and disciples is really nice.
아,
Just to continue repeating what Geshe said earlier, there was some correlation with the 5 paths that Geshe went through quickly earlier in this class.
Huh? What?
Yeah, you were talking about path of meditation, path of seeing, you were saying boundary.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We
Please
please repeat
Arya Papa Kori
again, say.
Pretina Dimbashis Lama, Kasikla, Tongla. No,
다 가지 토르스 뭐.
yeah.
왜 다른 나올.
Candice Togares.
알레요.
Johnny got love no.
네. 그래서 domajun데 산제심으로. domajun데 산제심네. 아니 domajun데 다 그런저 최송로 시즈와 쉬어라다. 먼저 덴발에 고로시에다 타벌 고로시에세. 배워쉬운데 아니 그런 상황 등에는 배대 신의 톱산주 전략 그래서 신의 톱사된다. 신의 톱사면서 나 소금무시도 수매무시도 들어와. 나가 대남시대 제미 도알레데 동과 힌두게 타버로 톱대다. 하장게 띵인지 내가 더 실차. 아니 저바데 니 코발라 땡이 중 개초조라고 자. 그러나 상업배대 가서 오래배대 유로장 투스 채워다가나 배대 그런 도움이 주저로 차대면서 직대로 니네 아니 또막에 막네 동네 법에 된 말에 숨어다 교식거든은 다가라나야 아니 이제 가서 오래 천원도 좀 규주 냠샤 지가나 톱제 담아들 천원도 톱에 다디 땡내로 주로 그래서 지금 르기 왜래야로 된데 다 그런 다 도마준데 세로 안다 그냥 다 파워에 된발 고차선 교식거든요 고차선 스팀만 담보지 가제 되도 정말 남는 거사 가제 전원도 가제 전원도 교식거든요 돼 아니 전원도 팀만 담보되는 거 다다들다랑 뭐다 민진 제일 남고체 가제디 전원도 가제 전원도 가제 전원도 당보디 송윤디 내제 대사고 정말 레다 아니 같이 레월라데 최대 마 숨거단디 아니 콘도줄이야 또거디 남산 콘베데 가서래 주민 저저제 와서 베디 가서 베디 툭 채워다가 남산 또거 줄여야 생각 담도 싫어야 근데 내제디 토고 쉬우지 내대가 연상 또베게 송된 찍나 남산 그거 미치면서 최선으로 뭐 dindes 딩마 당고들라 가지 전환도 가지 전환도 그랬다. 나디 공가디 사람은 정말 남을 거잖아. 딩마 당고 거는데 남을 거잖아.
It is with regards to how all of the 5 close disciples actualized the path after Buddha taught first. So in this case, we would say all of these 5 first they requested Buddha, please teach the reality, please teach the truth, the path to liberation. And all of them had very advanced levels of shamatha, karma abiding. Not only that, they had traversed those dhyanas, like the formless realms, consciousness, nothingness, and so forth, almost like that Hindu liberation, that level of absorption, about to leave the cycle of existence, very ready, almost, so ready for their minds to be matured. So when Lord Buddha first uttered, this is the truth of suffering, Kaushika, the one who was close to Buddha, in one sitting, he traversed accumulation, path of training, path of seeing in one equipoise, in one sitting. So when he got up, of course, Lord Buddha swore that he had gotten that aha state. But let's talk about the others, okay? We don't need to say each one's name individually, but some would have traversed or gone from the path of accumulation to the path of training or joining, and yet others from joining to path of seeing. Not need to say all the names, but what is being said is that they were so ready to be matured, you know, their minds were ready to be matured.
다데 니버데 네 용의 셰와 차라시 차와 셰와 니잖아가 아니 감사야 배 심내야 니버 차와지 레제 네 손람터니 이제 조람터 조람터니 토론터니 이제 고람터 고람서 거두고 배 또배 송용 거와 또배 송니 마디 동해 파고 덴바레 라라메시 지게 가서 돈방 방자래 아니 요즘 상마 소용 거다. 다음 컨서 걸어고요. 그래서 거기는 지 방자도 방고에 나 톱저 토보에다 톱에 남지 좀 봐도 상마 걸어고요. 제가 니네 남규를 지로고요. 저 두세네. 그제 로다한테 내려서
Yeah, and as Sami Chomne Deng also Song Yung Marwa in the Kunzu Kowe.
거의 그것도
Yeah, so as soon as Buddha would have said, this is the truth of suffering, then some would have understood straight away what that meant without Buddha elaborating on it explicitly. So they knew in terms of the truth of suffering what was to be abandoned and what was to be adopted, and they would have moved straight away from the path of accumulation to the path of training, and some from the path of training to the path of seeing, and so forth.
제가 네 고고고고의 지구에서 네 고고의 지에 고고들라네 군 통방방배 방방 공방방배 방방 뉴모 뉴디방배 방방 저도 고용으로 아니로 제가 고용으로
Gokten,
고고의 지에서 고야가 군다방 여러 공방방 여러 되게 뉴모방 여러 군다방의 통방의 거는 토도 여러 공방방의 다른 뭐 토도 여러
yeah. So when it was Buddha would have uttered, you know, actualized true cessations, within that they would know that what had to be stopped were all the levels of cessations, like desire realm, you know, the root afflictions, those different kind of 9 stages. They would have gotten that.
제가 차와 되거든 제가 이제는데 그 고고시가 다좀 맡아 아니 통남도인데 권남도 전남도니 통남도 다 상물로 덴바시디 팀어숨숨에 타마데라 상물로 통남 연제가 또 버터사다 상물로
Okay, so in terms of that second kind of cycle, which is not entity but to do with actions, then Kushika got that, of course, got that path of seeing, and then some would have traversed from the path of accumulation to the path of training. But at the end of the turning of the wheel of the Four Noble Truths, all had attained the truth of Aryas, all had attained to the state of Aryas. In short, the least they got was the path of seeing.
지산데 도지나는데 도 가서는 아니 경고 수면 내가라 아니 하드즈와 하장 야진의 상관라서 하드즈게 아니 알라라스 시우지 가우슈면 나갈래 메도다니 아니 다심지 푸디 덴바 마데서 뭐 덴바라 포스로서 봐 이제 먼저데 통랑 도버터와데 디디 먼저 과다게 그래 그다음 림바데 단다 디나라다 세우슈도 아팅가나 니드는 세우슈죠
No,
그다음에 먼저 디 단다 도지나라 아니 파베 덴발로 고송스다 마데 상고데 파베 덴발로 고송스네 먼저 잠불링나타 니마샤송스네 파베 덴발 고송스 다주메 공부 토송스다 니베 잠불링데다 베 개와 상고시 차송스제 안 하드데 남네 메도 담야가소가 다른 참마시 거든데 종외로규 근데 도지나라 도와디 디 제단 디디레도
and there's a wonderful sutra which gives an account of this at the end of the turning of the Four Noble Truths. The gods are so pleased and flowers fall from the sky and the gods proclaim, "Oh, the wheel has been turned, and the disciples have attained the truth of Arius, or seen the truth. And it's like the sun has shone in the world."
데 용거에서는 배나 단다 셔르브르바 셔르브디 아니 덤베 진주 마제 공라 다 힌두기 베데 스콜라들 레바 베데 로마 자니 제스음 양압자 연주들 레바 쇼지 케와 첨부 쇼든 레체 그러니 다 셔르브인데 뭐 덤바디 인데지 여와지 권용 다디 제고도 스페 덤베 첸 코자니 덤바 제야 남자지 대교들 레도 덤바 제고도 덤바 산제르 생도 뭔데 그러니까 내가 실제 여러 가지 저거나 뭐가 별로 여러 단다 하고 따도 있으니까 방안에 상관나 따도디 저거 제가 쉬어줘도 배데 치료를 덤바다 넣는 것은 다 그런 배데 시기 저거데 배 잠보 시시도 아니 배데 도단다 도 덤바나신 집에 쉬고 그랬어요. 아니 셔르브에 딜라디레자 되나나 아니 셔르디 따도디 롱자가도 근데 이 힌두들의 게다 또 조신체는 돈베니네도 주마로 임바던데 chen 미자지 될이야 또마된 처담당도 다들 와 저도 내가 마시 미슈니 메데 수부탕고 된데 내가 마시 미 칼라사데네 칼치긴 바스 가리자 아니 추딘데 쇼 두발하면 칼라도 포나 마데 동발아 쇼와 제도 아니 따디 콘로사이드 파샤네 콘솔라 다도 말람 gem더라 이디 셔르부가 톤데기도 와 톤에는 셔르부 저나 덤바 좀 내데 임베스 저나 베데 신다 menda지도 미디 자레 타그로 잡소스 미디게 네 저나 가 칼라슈에송스 저나 프로젝트 안그면도 단도 콘솔라 말람 잡소스 동해마야야 디요야 말람 잡소스 다 저나 덤바 임베스 나 덤바 메스 덤베 기도 인스 다 기도데 인데전 저나 덤바데 신 바스데 다자도 마샤게 되고 있어요. 셔르부 다 다자도 마샤게 되는 것을 제 꾸지다 다자도 마샤게 되는 송베 추가할 수무도 있어. 추가할 수무도 지금 라브로시 성들. 아니 다들 다 추베 먹무송을 했어. 추 먹무송을 당에도 저나 바로다 아니 기도를 저랑 이슈나 아니 민상만의 추송을 해서 말을 맞다지 뉴뉴지 셔르시스네 최난 담제 균의 정서다 대리님 뭐죠? 어디서 말해 최난 담제 균의 정 대주대 제시에서 균로고 하는 뭐 개정심에 대해서 지난 개정 첨부 되게 송서가 대 망고지게 대변배 송을 대변배 송 말 대변배 송에는 개정 첨부 되게 송라고 말아 개정 첨부 또 뭐좀 되고 또 뭐좀 되게 빈신남샤의 송구도 무슨 말이 단다 대리님 뭐도 송라 대송다 되는 주대 대송부터 티숨바다가 바보다 되게 내 숨바다가 셔르비줄라 타보토서 셔르비줄베데 또바티선 다른 인기니글랑 이중제 소람도는 그러면 다좀 또바다는 톡사라 저는 그래서 딘데 용구여다 딘데 간다더라
So other historical accounts, I think, in the case of Shariputra, previously was not a Buddhist student. He was a great Hindu scholar who had 300 or 400 disciples. And he had heard about Shakyamuni Buddha, Shariputra, and he wanted to meet him upon hearing about him. And he had also had the karma to meet other of the disciples in Buddha's retinue, such as Majjhigalayana. But there was another practitioner called Papatadu, and he had incredibly subdued actions when he walked. He was so subdued, like so mellow, pacified, if you will. And then Shariputra saw him, and he saw that when this practitioner, Tadut, when he saw other disciples that were behaving really poorly, like fighting, getting into disputes, having bad behavior, disrespecting people, and they were calling themselves sages. But this practitioner, Tadu, he didn't get upset. He actually he was so patient and he prayed for their welfare. These people these sages that were misbehaving. Shariputra observed this and then he thought, oh, you didn't get angry when you saw these other practitioners behaving in a negative manner, are you Buddha? Aishakmuni Buddha? Because I saw you praying for them. Who are you? And to which Tadu replied, no, I'm not Buddha, but I have taken teachings from him. I've taken teachings from Shakyamuni Buddha. To which Shariputra asked, what did he teach? And then, the reply was, go and see Lord Buddha and hear the teachings from him yourself. And then Shariputra goes, go on, give us just a taste. What did he teach? To which we have that wonderful quote, all phenomena are a product of conditions. Their cessation too was taught by the Tathagata, which is in that sutra of dependent arising. And just by hearing that, Shariputra actually got like liberation. He got inside. Ruba, Thompson. Dijala Kurang Sangi no Sachero.
나 되네 그런 파도네 나 몽골풀라 렌제로 나 몽골풀 셔르부다 멘다지 통사다 저랑 가래 드링 치부질레샤다 니고 멘다 차자 타부터자로
Yeah.
그 멘다 셔부 차제다 근데 나네니다 나도 좀 발레샤 제가도 몽골풀 가래 천안 뒤에 믹스해주면 나 덤베데 덤베게 니네 저서 덤베게 네 단도 최담지 귤레 정세야 딘데 최딘데 숨도 네 당연히 도그레스 좀 제가 도그레스 다랑 난치도 거다 몽골풀라 도그기로 와 제가 몽골풀다 셰르부게 타바터야게 도그데 도마좀네데 중요해서 마수나 도마좀네데 숭신교게 최직의 거자는 건도가 타바터서 제가
And
이
then, yeah, and then it's quite beautiful because after that, Shariputra met what's her name?
Galiana.
Mangaliana on the road and said, oh, you're looking really smart. You look good. Because it was liberation. And he said, well, what have you heard? And then he reiterated the part of that sutra that, I've heard that, all phenomena come from conditions and their cessation was also taught by the Tathagata. So even before meeting Shakyamuni Buddha directly, those two had that karma to be liberated.
근데 군이 다 코로나도 비루도 예시아지 당연히 덤바이사 도인 스캐너도 돼서는 결혼 주사 많이 도와도 아니 이제 그동 마피아제지 님들이네 아니 신도 남게 견두기 대소사 되네조라 아니 군이 님들 도마전인데 당연히 좀 결혼도 비루시라시스 근데 이게 상황 데려와 봐서 힌두게 타와전야를 데려 아니 데려와다 힌두 타와다 남게도 도메도 데려와라 아니 따타샤다 따타 멘다소로 따타야다 두로 수시면다 제야다 라와티아무자야다 두소 멘다서 딘데서 데이터 데이터로다 아니 긴두기 데조야데 어디네 제고조 레스라
So then, as a result of that, they left, that they left kind of their students behind. I mean, they had a lot of students, those two, Shariputra, but then they went to see Buddha, but the students followed them. And this really was the beginning of the Sangha, because at that stage, it was like the Hindu practitioners, they didn't have like a specific way of dressing. So then at that time, they began to shave their heads and have special robes and learn how to prostrate. Before it was kind of all mixed or not clear, but after that it became clear.
따타야데 힌두가 타와가 따른 것이야네
Yeah, particularly with the shaving of the head, because the Hindu sages used to keep theirs long.
어딘데 다잖아 다들을 유지서 따는 거서 덤베게 송라 수서 냠면치기나 아니 또고지기요 두고요 따라
If one, reads these historical accounts, then you get faith in the deed of Buddhist holy speech. How they got attainments from it.
왜요, 그죠?
So like, for example, these 5 disciples and these other ones, you know, we're taught that they must have enormous merit, you know, we're taught how much merit to get path of accumulation and how much merit for preparation and enormous merit for path of seeing,
네.
like much more than heroes or solitary realizers or, you know, just things like those ones, huge amounts more. So would we assume that these disciples already had that much merit if they
Mhm.
traversed those paths so quickly?
Mhm. So the question is about merit in these 5 close disciples to move through these paths of accumulation, preparation, path of seeing, and so forth. They need a lot of merit. And if one would assume they have more merit than just hearers and solitary realizers would
Well,
have,
enormous amounts more.
yeah, enormous amounts more. So are we assuming they already have? Is that your question?
Yeah, more than because
Another question.
they must have had the merit. If
Yeah,
they,
so then-
or were they making merit along the way? Because normally, you know, if more slowly, let's say, merit is made along the way and the part of
Okay.
preparation, they're also making merit. Do you see what I mean? It's not just, yeah, anyway.
Gish like on the sonam kodenga di sonam shibushi yor what
네.
karajan like on lamsang lam tokpa gulake sangi sung tene
네.
yang mena karasana namjin on the sonam sagi dogi
네.
pena soklam juk dijela sa jolam badu
네.
sonam mambu sokla
네.
konzerti peti yugima tamila
그러다 다 도마전년에 타고 경험하죠. 마다고 경험하죠. 렌드네 시제 마대게 더 쉬지도 알아. 근데 마대다 다다 셔르부다 뭔가부터 저게네 지 선언 때베게 루이지마다다 아니 미지마다다 근데 요새라 콘조 상마 누가 겨워 사회 쇼라 만차 누가 하나 버려도 단다 디인세다 셔르부 인세요 셔르베데네 도마존네데 공부량을 마대고나 그런 분이 이 디스킹 공부다 시버바 도마존네데가 두다지기 제래야 공부자에나 셔르베 띵게네라 그런 시바 식샤라 저는 두조 이다베데 저 몽골라 도마존네데게 체드 셔르베게 루소 단다데 dum지여라 좀 망보여라 직체나 너디 겨워지라 좀 된데 투단이 그 본보를 봐 주가 캡틴 봐 근데 이제 다 주데 롱도 도와라 롱이 봐 롱도도 미 단데데레 다미 자주고 주주에서래 봐 유디다 미치 추나는 마셔나는 미상마시로 거라 주진이 밸런스비 데모드네 봐 주변이가 그러나 나 정부 인스라 딱 정말 되게 말해서 미상마 시도 그래서 근데 셔르고게 다 주변 또는 되게 말해서 이게 에 덤베 더 덤바 말다 주변도 좀 덤베 겨워야 되라 근데 저런 게 늦어만고 전지가 그래서 이게 선남다 이게 어디 저런 게 아니 대체 이게 저런 제도 가도이나 마치랑 일다 시긴 그 군이 제와 쉽지요서 봐야 둘도 아니더나 고라니 제와 쉽지요체네 나처럼 아니 가도이나 이나 결혼 시바디 통기면서 말아 결혼 마시거나 하시고 그랬잖아 딘자나 주기로 정부에서 하시긴 했어 근데 그런 그 르데 메시지 신이 된다가 르 가자다 소다마던데 근데 그 로규던데 막 뭐야 하시나 제가 답을 경험한 좀 마다왜 경험한 되면서 가와이나 마데다 셔르부 겨와디 저 여된 주시 배나면서 배율라 땀을 이제도 땀을 이제 따로마디 데려도 하고서 공화된 상부래도 하셔서 류지마다니디 계세디 디셰 가서 좀 된데셰 드드네 가서 파주게 저와디 새로운 새로운 된 유지래도 이제 지나라는 이제 선은 저 망보네 사신 유지 나도 다좀 배세요 말 산제 이고만 더야라다 계제 정말선 선함 소고라 두 상업에들 미지 되는 여러 차대 레스폰스 나와라
Yes, a vast amount of merit they would have had, and this we can look in the context of Shakyamuni Buddha's previous lives of 500 pure and 500 impure births, in assuming those three countless great eons of merit and the connections he would have made with those disciples during those births, such as giving his body, giving his eyes. And it is said that after Lord Buddha showed the aspect of going into nirvana, one week later, Shariputra died. And that was due to the very close karmic connection they had. The story which relates to it is that in a previous life, Shakyamuni Buddha was a captain of a vessel, and that the vessel was encountering a lot of wind, and they had to balance the ship, of which there was 80 or 90 merchants. 가르쳐내만 좀 그래 주시.
주생이 지고 시제타는 주생 팀으로.
Ale. So because there were 80 or 90 merchants and they were encountering the wind that was starting to sink. So one of them had to jump off. The Shakyamuni Buddha said, I'll jump. To which Shariputra said, please don't jump, because these two had tremendous mutual affection. Okay, so, and it's almost like Shariputra was saying, in all your lives, I'll die before you. I'll never witness your death. I'll give up my body for you. So it seems they had this very strong karmic connection in the context of those 500 pure and impure lives. So we can say that, let alone that those 5 close disciples got arhatship, independence on the turning of the wheel of the Four Noble Truths. They're close to enlightenment. That's how much merit they had.
So who jumped first?
다음은
That's right.
Chongminsur에 당분
셰르비 기와죠.
Shariputra did it because he stopped Buddha. In previous lives, they weren't known as those names.
So my next follow-up question, the main question is, that means like people or general, us, let's say, we have a certain amount of merit, but we don't know that we've got that merit until we meet the condition to ripen. Do you see what I mean? It's like a seed. It doesn't know it's got the potential to do A, B, and C until it's like met the conditions to grow. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So people must have merit, but it's unknown until they meet the conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah, so do people know they've got merit?
No, that's not the question. I said
Then
people, I'm saying people must have merit. But it must be the case and I'm asking if this is true, that must be the case that everybody has merit, but it's not realized until they meet, like, for example, the Dharma, or meet the conditions for it to ripen.
So your question, is it realized when you meet the condition for Dharma or not?
Yeah, I know the question is, people have merit.
Already.
Yeah, already, like we've already got merit. I mean, but we don't know. Do you see what I mean? Like, for
demands.
So you might have the merit to be enlightened and get the path of seeing Geshe-la, but until you meet Buddha who gives you some profound instruction, you don't know that. Or is that the case? Or
되더라와 소남 열을 소남 지중 담는다 열와 제가 산제게 소남 디게디 롱스나나 한 튕기디게 차는 거래 개개인의 연구를 최대한으로 되는 알아서 겨우마마디 겨우마마 소남 먹고 사셔 디제는 먼저데 최제기도 제르머칭 땡벌 제기도 하대 소남 친구에 있는 것이 제기 맞다대 그래서 알아서 겨우마마디 쉬우지 제였다 제제 먼저 단다 주주딘 되지는 알아야 네 제를 무시행기 땜바 부타고도 내질랑서 제토어디 소남 쉬우지 다가제 소남 내제 토고지 레데가 근데 빌레베 지나도 있는 소남 신부시로 겨울무지 팀을 가지고 된 리슈자를 초조를 라마만 못 된 리슈도 두고 겨우 마마디 배제 소남 숙청 사신 교제래 저도 다 산제게 소남디 길레스나 아니 그 kiến 주지 태우다가 산제로 단단 가서 산제 그 소남디 레요 소남 싸고래 먼저 소남 내제디 단다 야 소남 야 사지 배전식으로 와
So yeah, there's different there's people who have a large amount of merit and people who have less merit. And but for us, that in past lives we must have created a lot of good merit to meet the Dharma and to meet the Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, which is excellent. So you, for example, have invited His Holiness here and many High Lamas here, so you have a lot of merit. But the merit that you would have just prior to becoming Buddha, and that you would become Buddha quickly, we're not quite there yet.
Was in a two would be no.
Yeah, the question is, do we understand that as that repository of merit? And would it be the case that like these disciples, they've got so much merit that the merit created the ripening to meet the Buddha or the ripening to meet whatever? Do you see what I mean? That's part of the quality of the merit.
전화하고 말해 가셔하고 말해 소남 하자 맨날 소남디 데빌레 딘데질미 그래서 산제 미시고도 다 셰도 말아
Some would know their merit level, but some would not. And only a Buddha would know their merits will ripen in this way or how much they've got.
소남기 남샤 치마치 저 렌데 남샤 터치터 신고데 산제 미시 신도 말아
Yeah, like the workings of, or the amount of merit and how it ripens is similar to the subtleties of the workings of behavioral cause and effect, which only a Buddha's omniscient mind knows.
Oh yeah, that is so.
We'll stop where
Page 31, short man number. Sajid. Due to the merit of affections, my book contains state of the Buddha, and may all events without exception and without my state. May its supreme jewel bodhicitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I have created, I pay homage offering God in my faults. Rejoicing in the question that the Buddha's say and teach. I now dedicate all pleasures of the awakening. I dedicate all this fruits of virtue and the dedication praise at the seals. May the first ones thus gone the 3 times, that I might perform the noble one's selfless deeds. May the King of Dharma Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma practice the large. May the yokes of obstacles be pacified, and all the juice of circumstances be complete. The wish granting, wish fulfilling to all souls of every single being, and as well. Find you and gaps like the seas. May all wishes favor the snow, teachings and transmigratory beings. Lead extremely clear the path of purification of emptiness and compassion. To the lowest solid things and gaps like the seas. May all the holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the securest moral way, the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading the victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the 3 fields, to make myself and others your disciples, please swiftly return. For I rely on the accumulations of myself and others in the 3 times. May the teachings of the conqueror not have no place for a long time.
이제
Others.
Oh, sorry, and pray to the. Robin Burton. Fearless teacher, assembly of the children of the victorious ones, shrouders and particulars, victorious ones and father and sons, along with the lineage masters. All the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue of goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Glory in spreading the most expressions and complete teachings, to explanate and practice you all the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable and guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-mindedly for the sake of the victorious one's teaching, the sole gateway to which all benefit and happiness emerged, and for all other living beings who suddenly departed to peace for a great loss. Nevertheless, through the understanding truth of which is in of the glory of the great way of the teacher of the children of victorious ones, by the smile of reincarnation swiftly being glory for fortunate disciples.
the match are you
We've got, we're doing precepts tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Are you